This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
It's Friday, May 23rd, 2025, and here are today's stories. Big changes are coming to childcare in Kenya with a plan to bring kids home instead of into institutions. Ever want to learn Australian Sign Language? Poppy's got a few easy phrases to get you started. Plus, what your beauty routine might say about the state of the economy. We're touring one of Denmark's most peaceful and artsy libraries. Feeling a little off? We're looking into how microdosing could help boost your mood without the trip. And fire ants be gone. Heza M shares her go-to chemical-free fix for those tiny troublemakers.
Kenya plans to transform its child welfare system to move from institutional care to family and community-based alternatives. Nearly 1,000 children's homes are set to close, replaced by care that supports children's emotional and social growth. The plan focuses on preventing child-family separation, increasing options like foster care, and reintegrating children into communities. 2 years ago, Kenya announced plans to shut down private children's homes over concerns about child trafficking, leaving only government-run facilities under the Child Welfare Society open. Recently, at the 2024 Global Ministerial Conference on Children, Kenya doubled down on this decision, committing to replace orphanages with family-based care. Research shows institutional care can harm children's long-term development, so the move aligns with global trends. However, it hasn't come without controversy. Critics worry the transition is being rushed without proper planning, which could leave thousands of children without support. There's also concern about whether families, especially in poverty-stricken areas, can afford to take in additional children. Activists and lawmakers argue the government should focus on addressing root causes of child homelessness, like poverty and family breakdown, instead of shutting down homes outright. Many are calling for better funding, more shelters, and safe spaces to ensure vulnerable children are truly cared for, while others accuse the government of using the policy as a way to cut funding to privately run homes.
Well, I think about the spirit of why orphanages were created, and it was to give refuge to children who didn't have an alternative.
Yep.
I know, unfortunately, it's been bedeviled with issues of whether it's trafficking, abuse, neglect.
Yeah.
I think that's informing some of these decisions.
Yeah.
But again, the transition. You're shutting down 1,000 homes. Okay. Have you figured out the foster care? Have you figured out community-based care? Because that's also quite intensive. Expensive, it's long-term. So the reason why I felt heavy about this is it's another case of we need to shut them down and then take them to foster care and community-based care without figuring out those structures.
The new State Department for Children Welfare Services has been created to focus on children's rights and welfare, including improved child protection mechanisms and faster handling of children's cases in courts. Dedicated facilities like rescue centers will be set up in police stations and counties to support minors. The government emphasizes supporting legally registered child welfare organizations while addressing illegal operations linked to child trafficking. Recently, the government has clarified it will only shut down children's homes that don't meet legal and regulatory standards, and it's still licensing new orphanages.
In efforts to ensure that all children across the country receive protection, Labour Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua has affirmed the government's commitment to safeguarding their rights. Speaking in Nairobi while receiving Karen Angengo as the new permanent secretary in charge of children's affairs at the Ministry of Labour, Mutua also dismissed claims that the government intends to shut down children's homes, clarifying that only centers where children are exploited for business purposes will be closed.
This is a state department which takes care of all the children of this nation and anybody vulnerable of this nation. So it's quite wide. You name it from the early 0 age all the way to the grave. So I'm happy, Waziri, that Our Excellency the President saw it good, that he gives us somebody to assist us in delivering the mandate, especially the better mandate.
And briefly, I can say, yes, I have had a grasp of the issues affecting children in Kenya. And what I can say is that my plan as I come in, number one, would be to strengthen child protection.
The children have to be protected also from vices in society. We need to protect our children from violence. We need to protect our children from pornography and sexual acts that are for adults, not for children. We need to protect our children from gambling and some of these other issues that are affecting our children. And let the child mature, then they can do the adult things. But as long as the child is young, we need to protect the innocence of the child.
According to data, Kenya has 902 charitable children's institutions, housing more than 44,000 minors, and 30 government facilities, caring for almost 1,450 children. By 2027, the goal is to transition 70% of children in institutions to family-based care. This effort aligns with global child welfare best practices.
Auslan, short for Australian Sign Language, is a great way for the deaf and hard of hearing community to communicate. It uses hands, facial expressions, and body language to share ideas and emotions. UNN Field Messenger Poppy shows us a few simple Auslan phrases.
Hi, I'm Field Messenger Poppy. I'm 9 years old and I live in Tasmania, Australia. I'm going to show you Auslan Sign Language, and that is a language for the deaf people using their hands, only in Australia because it's Auslan. I learnt the sign language because one day our class had a relief teacher for science, but she did sign language, but it was American, and I wanted to learn how to do Auslan Sign Language, so that I looked on my iPad and I used script how to do it, and then after I checked a video, but my mum helped a bit. I'm going to teach you how to do the alphabet, then I'm going to teach you how to do your vowels, and I love you, and bye. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, N, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I'm going to show you how to do your vowels. You take your hand that you don't write with and do a 5. You take your pointer finger you do write with, and then it's just in order from your thumb to your pinky, A, E, I, O, U. Now I'm going to show you how to do yes and no. This is yes, and this is no. The way to remember is like you're shaking your hands as in yes or no, but you're doing it with your wrist. Now I'm going to show you how to say I love you. I love you. Thanks for watching. Bye.
The economy has a big impact on personal care businesses like salons and beauty brands. When times are good and people have extra cash, spending on beauty products and services tends to go up. But when the economy hits a rough patch, non-essential purchases like these are often the first to get cut, causing sales to drop. Makes you wonder, are shifts in beauty spending one of the first signs the economy's taking a turn?
Predicting a recession is no easy task, but economists often look at recession indicators like declining consumer confidence, late credit card payments, and overall business uncertainty. Meanwhile, social media has its own quirky take on predicting recessions, with TikToks and memes pointing to things like rising lipstick sales or longer skirt lengths as supposed warning signs. But these aren't foolproof indicators. They do highlight how shifts in everyday habits and trends can sometimes mirror bigger economic changes.
I'm rocking a new hair trend, recession blonde. But what does my hair have to do with the economy? Let me show you. I've ditched this hair color for my natural tone, and I'm not the only one.
I've had my hair darker for a few weeks now. I think it's very valid to talk about the cost of being blonde.
Turns out lots of us are letting their highlights grow out. And some people see that as a sign the economy's getting shaky, because less of this means saving more money. But hair color isn't the only quirky way people try to predict recessions. There's also skirt length and lipstick. Spoiler, economists don't see those as real indicators. Back in 2001 and 2008, Estee Lauder's chairman Leonard Lauder noticed lipstick sales went up when the economy went down. So is a rise in lipstick sales really a sign we're headed into a recession?
I think it's been seen in certain instances, but not across the piece. There's some relationship between tough economic times and then consumers tending to purchase smaller luxury items, just as a means of sort of maintaining some sense of normalcy,
So yes, when money's tight, we cut back on the big stuff, like expensive hair appointments, but might still splurge on small pick-me-ups. But what about skirts? There's a theory that skirt lengths get shorter when the economy's booming and longer when times are tough. But Dutch economist Philip Francis, who studied the hemline effect from the 1920s until now, found otherwise.
We have an analysis over time, and then we could basically see that, there's basically no relationship between the two, between the economy and the hemline. It's a bit of an urban legend, and it's nice to talk about.
So instead of watching hair, lipstick, or skirt lengths, economists look at something called consumer sentiment, basically how optimistic people feel about the economy. And right now, that score is the lowest in the US since 2022 and below average in the EU.
The beauty industry also faces unique challenges due to its heavy reliance on the global supply chain. Beauty products and materials often travel through several countries to get to store shelves, and tariffs, taxes on imports, can throw a wrench in the process. When prices rise because of these tariffs, shoppers feel the pinch. In a price-sensitive market, even a small increase can push customers toward cheaper local brands or more affordable services. For beauty businesses, it's not just about crunching numbers. It's about understanding how these broader trends affect what people buy and how businesses adapt.
For the full head of highlights, I used to have clients every 3 months, every 2 months. Now I see that same clients, they come around, I would say 4 to 6 months. So they definitely stretching out, and they definitely want to save a little bit money because it's expensive.
And it might be getting worse due to President Trump's triple-digit tax on Chinese imports. You might not think about it, but China is a major source for everything, from dyes and weaves to styling tools.
When the supplies goes up, our clients will have less money to spend.
But bigger cuts into people's budgets could result in less haircuts.
We have to take one day at a time, but we are a little bit nervous, to be honest.
While some products are manufactured in the U.S., many rely on ingredients from China.
I would say 20 to 30% ingredients, they come from Asia. So that will impact the pricing of the keratin treatment. It will go up eventually because of the tariffs. So it's flat irons, curling irons, mixing bowls, brushes, clips, blow dryers, furniture even. It's the list is on and on and on. It never ends.
So forget about worrying about receding hairlines. It's recession hair that you could be looking at going forward.
Small businesses in particular are feeling the heat from tariffs. Retailers are stuck making tough choices. Raise prices and risk losing customers, add surcharges, or shrink product sizes without changing the price. Moves that can sometimes backfire. Some businesses are turning to local suppliers, but in the beauty industry, it's not always easy to match the quality or affordability of imported ingredients. To stay ahead, some are stockpiling inventory to prepare for potential price hikes, while others are planning to absorb the costs to avoid passing them on to shoppers. While shoppers may not see tariff listed on their receipts, they'll still feel the impact, especially middle and lower income customers.
At first glance, Hair Depot looks like any other beauty supply store, but inside, owner Jakaria Bance is working hard to keep her business running strong.
So this is actually a really scary time for a lot of business owners. Right now, we're seeing increases anywhere from 10 to 35% as far as just shipping alone. And that doesn't even talk about the increase of the cost of the products. Eventually, in business, everything trickles down.
Vance says her mission has always been to keep prices affordable, especially for the Black community in Colombia.
Let's be honest, you have to look presentable to get a job. For people to take you serious, for your confidence. So to have those resources continue to be stripped from people that need it the most, how do we bridge the gap?
For stylists and braiders, the cost of doing business is climbing quickly.
Unfortunately, hairstylists, braiders, barbers are really going to be, affected by this, because where a service was once $200, let's just say, the hair may have been $50. We're looking at potential increases of $150, $200, and that's before we even get money for the service that we're providing. That's just the materials.
Shawanda Wright knows the struggle firsthand. With more than 30 years of experience as a stylist, she says rising tariffs are driving up the cost of hair products, and stylists are feeling the pinch.
We were non-essential, and when things got bad in COVID, and we were the first people to go out of work. So if the products and the prices increase here for anything, that puts us out of work first. So we're not going to be able to work. Our clients won't be able to get their hair done. People will be walking around not looking their best, not feeling their best, because they just can't afford it.
The beauty industry is a reflection of broader economic trends, from shifts in consumer spending to the effects of global trade policies. As businesses navigate these challenges, they'll need to find creative ways to adapt without sacrificing quality or alienating customers. For shoppers, understanding these dynamics can make it easier to spot changes and support brands that align with their values.
Hi everyone, this is Leanne.
And I'm Jerry.
Coming to you from Tamworth, New South Wales.
Hi there, this is Rick from Arizona.
My name is Uchechukwu Oweneba from Igbo tribe, Nigeria.
Hi, this is Scott from Utah.
I'm Annette from Agassiz, British Columbia.
Hi, I'm Marcus Surzet from Manipur State, India.
Real people reporting real stories from all around the world. That's what United Network News is all about.
Can you clap?
We had a huge flood, which some call the flood of the century.
No fake news here. Our field messengers share personal experiences of what's really happening in their community.
We got some nice fish right here.
At UNN, you are the news.
My family and I had a very good time.
Take the next step. Become a UNN field messenger and share the real news with the world.
In the northwest province of South Africa, I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News, and if it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's going to be, it's up to me. If it is going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to us. Field Messages, United Network News. See you next time.
Step into a world of possibilities with New Earth, a groundbreaking series that shines light on holistic ways to live, work, and thrive. Join us weekly to discover new innovative ideas and explore the world around us as we, together, create our future, our New Earth.
The Hillerod Library in Denmark is a beautiful space combining function and artistic design. The calm atmosphere is perfect for studying or unwinding. UNN Field Messenger AGS gives us a tour of this local library.
Hi, this is AGS, field reporting for United Network News, and I went to the library in the local city of Hillerod in Denmark, Europe. And as you can see, there is sunny weather, and there was a more or less permanent exhibition of a piece of art right here in the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling. Kind of looks like folded papers, like origami, and it was very intricate and elaborately made. I really enjoyed this creation. Hanging from the ceiling, blessing everybody going through the space of the library. Further inside the library, there was quiet zones where people were studying and reading papers, and there was more art hanging from the ceiling. This was a Viking boat and another type of boat hanging from the ceiling. There was also a quiet zone where people could study. Then there was a bit of a contrast because outside the library there was a homeless person living with all his belongings. So, and it was kind of cold outside, like refrigerator, in the shade at least. And then there was also a refilling station for your water bottles, so you could replenish your water bottles with fresh water. So I thought that was a great service. Thank you for watching, and if it's going to be, it's up to me.
Feeling anxious, worn down, or emotionally stuck? What if the answer wasn't another prescription or new self-help routine, but a gentle shift in your brain chemistry? That's the quiet promise behind microdosing, taking teeny, non-hallucinogenic amounts of psychedelics to support emotional healing, lift depression, and restore a sense of balance, all without the intense visuals or mind-bending trips. Microdosing psychedelics has gone from a niche experiment to something people casually chat about over coffee. Whether it's a tech worker looking to spark creativity or someone hoping to get relief from anxiety or depression, more folks are trying tiny doses of psychedelics like LSD or psilocybin, the compound in magic mushrooms. The idea is simple. Just take enough to potentially feel sharper, lighter, or more open without the full-blown trip. But does it actually work? Many people are turning to social media to share their microdosing journeys, documenting emotional breakthroughs, mental health shifts, and subtle ways these tiny doses are changing their lives.
I have been microdosing psilocybin mushrooms now for the last month or so, and here's what I've noticed. The mushrooms subtly have helped me to become a little more happier, grateful, and light. That there were parts of me that kind of like old programming would lean towards fear and being scared and wanting to just shut down around people and feel a bit anxious, and microdosing has really helped me just to shift those small patterns. And so every day I've been taking a little mushroom microdose 3 days, 4 days a week, and it's really helped me to become happier, healthier, funnier, and lighter.
So how does microdosing actually work in the brain? While scientists are still piecing it together, it mostly comes down to how psychedelics interact with our serotonin system, specifically the 5-HT2A receptors, which help regulate mood, emotions, and cognition. Even at super low doses, substances like LSD and psilocybin seem to gently tweak brain activity in ways that can boost mental flexibility, ease anxiety, and help people feel more present. Some research also suggests microdosing quiets the brain's default mode network, basically the mental chatter loop tied to overthinking and depression. Interestingly, different psychedelics tend to have slightly different vibes. LSD microdoses are often described as more stimulating. People say they feel sharper, more focused, or creatively dialed in. Psilocybin, on the other hand, tends to feel a bit more emotional or introspective, even in tiny amounts. Some say it helps them feel more grounded, spiritually open, or emotionally balanced. A lot of what people believe about microdosing comes from personal experience, stories shared on podcasts, Reddit, and Instagram, more than solid scientific research, which is still trying to catch up. Skeptics argue most microdosing research is still too limited. Small sample sizes, short durations, and heavy reliance on self-reported data. They point out placebo effects likely play a big role, and the hype might be outpacing the actual science.
One of the biggest issues is that the claims from these microdosing websites and advocates are too broad to study. The claims are so wide-ranging that it leads to too many variables when trying to create a scientific study that can stand up to scrutiny. Claiming that microdosing will make you more productive, creative, have better sex, or just enjoy life more is extremely broad and not usually how drugs work. But these broad, positive claims from advocates or websites actually lead to the biggest problem with microdosing right now, which is that in double-blind controlled studies, microdosing doesn't perform any better than a placebo. One double-blind controlled study examined the effects of 4 LSD microdoses on people aged 18 to 35. One group was given a microdose of 13 micrograms, another given double that at 26 micrograms, and a third group given a placebo. The participants were asked mood questionnaires for 5 hours after each dose and completed cognitive and behavioral tests after the first and final doses. There were no significant differences between the 3 groups. Those who were microdosing and those who got placebos but thought they were microdosing felt the same. Another study on 191 participants who gave themselves microdoses of either the real thing or a placebo, they didn't know which they got, but they did administer the pills themselves at home, found that in all cases they had improved psychological outcomes significantly from the baseline, but there was no significant difference between the people taking a real microdose or those taking a placebo. The researcher actually said as the results came in, "When we started this study, our vision was that we'll be the heroes to prove that microdosing works. Our results were somewhat disappointing. The microdosing community was pretty bummed out." Another study found that there were changes in brain activity in those who were microdosing psilocybin, but it was not a double-blind placebo test. They were aware that they were microdosing, and although there was altered EEG rhythms, there was no evidence to support enhanced well-being, creativity, or cognitive function, and the understanding was that expectation underlied the anecdotal benefits attributed to microdosing. Essentially, because people were expecting microdosing to work, it did, the same way a placebo works.
At the end of the day, even if some of the benefits people report from microdosing turn out to be mostly placebo, does that actually matter? If someone feels less anxious, more present, or finally able to get out of bed in the morning, isn't that still a win? For many, the real value isn't in the molecule itself, but the overall shift it helps spark, whether that's through intention, mindset, or neurochemistry. That said, microdosing isn't a one-size-fits-all fix. It's not recommended for people with a personal or family history of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, or other psychotic conditions, since even small amounts of psychedelics could potentially trigger destabilizing effects. Plus, combining psychedelics with other pharmaceuticals, especially antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications, could be risky. There are no long-term studies on the safety of microdosing. We don't know what repeated regular use could do to the brain, body, or mental health over time.
I was introduced to microdosing about a year ago. After having children, I had been on and off antidepressants for about 10 years. The antidepressant I was taking kind of takes you out of the lows, but it really doesn't spark creativity. I sometimes will do microdosing when I have to be in a very intense social environment where I feel like I really have to be up. It kind of helps me get me out of my shell and a little less self-conscious. It's all the great effects of psychedelics without what I would call the debilitating effects.
In the meantime, advocates for microdosing like Teresa say they will continue to do it because it's transformed their lives.
it does change your mind. It breaks down these barriers. I think in modern society, we're really hitting up against those established sort of social norms. And I think that's scary for a lot of people in our society.
Microdosing is still illegal in most places where both LSD and psilocybin are controlled substances. However, in the U.S., Colorado and Oregon have taken big steps, with Oregon legalizing psilocybin therapy in licensed settings and Colorado decriminalizing it. In the Netherlands, psilocybin truffles are legal and microdosing is actually pretty common. Canada still treats psilocybin as illegal, though there are some exceptions for medical use. In places like Portugal and Spain, personal use is decriminalized, but it's not fully legal. Meanwhile, countries like the UK and Australia still consider psychedelics illegal. So it's important to know what's legal where you are.
Dealing with fire ants doesn't have to be a struggle, especially when you incorporate regular property checks and smart chemical-free solutions. UNN Field Messenger Keza M shares her go-to method for dealing with fire ants.
Hello, this is Keza M. I'm a field messenger for United Network News, reporting from Tamborine, Southeast Queensland, Australia. Today, my report is going to be on fire ants. Now, here's the bad news. I've combed the property and I can't find any. Hey, wait a minute, is that bad news? No, I think it's good news. The reason I can't find any is because we do a weekly inspection. We do a walk around the property every week looking for problems on the property. When we find fire ants, we don't use chemicals or poison. We deal directly with them, and I'm about to show you what we do. So here's the best I can find you. What I've got here is some old petrol. We didn't use it in time, and all I do is just come along and put a couple of caps of petrol on it. And what it does, what we're trying to do is to kill the queen. Now the eggs have all the ants and the queens underneath there, and what the fire does is it actually cooks them. And as unpleasant as that sounds, it's a very fast, effective way. Now if we come back in the following week and find that they're still there, it's very unusual, we just do it for a second time. We started using a mix of half honey, half borax. That was effective, but not as effective as doing this. And as you can see, the fire goes out in a minute. We have lost this year 4 beehives to people poisoning. Now, what kind of poison was that? May have been fire ants, may have been Roundup on around the paddocks, I don't know. But I have never, ever lost beehives because of being poisoned. Never before. And that's probably nearly 10 years of beekeeping. So anyway, this is Keza M reporting from Tamborine. Over and out for now.
At UNN, you are the news. Get involved by joining our weekly Field Messenger meetings. Visit unitednetwork.earth to learn more. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me.